Hi everyone, it's Dr. Nancy here. I just wanted to give you some quick tips for making an inexpensive planter box. We're going to talk in my Herb 101 class this week about planting and growing herbs. And I know that I like to do it as cheaply as possible and as sustainably as possible. So I like to repurpose stuff. This week I have all these Mediterranean herbs that I've just bought because I just moved to a new place and I'm establishing a new garden, and I wanted to get them out of their pots and into a planter box at least. The next step will be soil, but for right now I needed a kind of intermediary place to put these guys, and so I looked around to see what I had, and I had some wood, but wood's really expensive. It's really dear to the planet. It's gonna rot when it gets exposed to water. So that was my second choice. But then as I was looking around, my first choice became these landscaping blocks that the guy who owned the property before us just left in a pile. You can see they're all various sizes. Some are broken, some are intact. And this rock is one of my favorite rocks from our last house, so I brought that along because it's the kind of gal I am. I like rocks and plants. So anyhow, I stacked some of the landscaping bricks up to support kind of the walls of the planter box. And the walls were formed by, yep, more landscaping bricks. You see, nothing fancy. I put them against the wall of the garage here because, like I said, these are Mediterranean herbs, and the Mediterranean herbs do like more heat. So I wanted some reflection from the wall on these guys. And we can quickly say hello to them. This is, of course, Melissa officinalis lemon balm. This one is actually juniper. Has some really good juniper berries on this one. This one used to grow was an old one that grew in my neighborhood where I moved from, and I used to walk by and eat the berries. And one day the guy trimmed it, and I picked up the trimmings, and over the last year have been working on getting it so it will grow, and it's really taken off. It's really kind of cool from a cutting. This, of course, is dear rosemary. And next to rosemary is a little bit of thyme. And this thyme's a little sad right now. It's one reason I wanted to get her in the soil. This is our lavender. And this is spearmint. Yep. Again, a little sad. I took a cutting from my last house and put it in some water, and then put it in a little tiny pot to bring it along. This is a lemon verbena I bought new when I moved here, so she's kind of big and bold and beautiful. There's a little tiny piece down here, though, that came from my old house, and yeah, I rooted her and brought her along as well, planted her there. We've got sage here, and a little oregano, who might get planted around the box, but the soil's not so great here, so I'm not sure yet. But oregano might not mind that, and neither may sage, so I might just plant it all around here. And this is pineapple sage, one of my favorite things to grow, and it's a salvia, true salvia, and the reason I like to grow it is because it actually blooms very late. It hasn't bloomed yet. And the butterflies and the bees love it, and the hummingbirds love it for a late autumn kind of snack. So it feeds the bees and the hummingbirds and the butterflies. So that's why I grow that. It's in a big pot. I had a couple big pots that some friends gave me when they moved out of country. So there's that. This is Vitex Agnus Castus. I always have a Vitex wherever I live. So as soon as we moved here and I found one, I bought it. And these are two plants that could be native to the Northwest. Savine maple. And this is a Oregon ash. Oregon ashes or rowan trees are said to only grow where strong women live. So again, I took this from my old house. I have 2 or 3 Oregon ashes growing there, and so I dug this one up and planted it in this little pot, and it really took off. As soon as I build this berm over here, I'm going to plant those 2, as well as probably the Vitex, and maybe all of these Mediterranean herbs, although it's a little shady over there for them. All right, so I just wanted you to see that, you know, just repurposing materials can be a very cheap way to build a planter box in your backyard. Or even on your balcony deck or whatever. And, you know, you can always find things like landscaping blocks on Craigslist for free, or OfferUp, or your Buy Nothing group that's local. Facebook has free items as well. People are just trying to get rid of things. Often, you know, they'll even put them out on the street and just have a free sign. So bricks would work fine. There's often bricks that people put out. So just look around your neighborhood, look at those different sites, see if you can find some free materials to repurpose that you might not have thought of for a planter box. Okay, so it took me maybe an hour to build because I had to haul the bricks from one site to another, but yeah. And then I filled it up with some mixture of garden soil and compost that I had around, and then also you know, everything was in a 1-gallon pot and some soil, so there was that soil as well. And then I put some straw on it, or actually that's spoiled hay that the farmer down the road gave me a deal on. So that's another thing to get your, you know, it's sometimes hard to find straw or hay at your local hardware store or feed store if they're out of it, or it's expensive, especially if you're buying organic. But if you know, go out into the just rural part of your area and poke around, you'll often find some deals out there. So I got 5 bales of that, which I'm going to make a mix with some horse manure that I got today, some aged horse manure, and mix that with some wood chips for when I take down a tree that's died. I don't know if you can see that tree, but there's a tree. Doesn't have many limbs on it. Anyhow, they're going to take it down in a couple of weeks and then chip the branches for me. So then we'll mix all that together with some biochar that I've made, and yeah, some garden soil that I'm unfortunately going to have to buy at this point, and compost, and mix it all together and make what they call hugelkultur out where those hay bales are. And then I'll make a berm, and on that berm I'll start planting things like these native trees to make a little place, kind of demarcation where the deer they tend to take a little path behind there. So I want to kind of give them space to do it that will be separate from the eventual garden. I don't know that that's going to keep them out, but that and a couple of dogs I think will go a long way. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to introduce to you guys. You can see sometimes I will use whatever I have as a planter, and when I moved a month ago, I have this beautiful Dong Quai plant, and I was like, what am I going to put her in? Because she was in a big oak barrel that was impossible to move. So I put her in a Rubbermaid container and threw some soil in there, and she's just flourishing. The bees always chase me away when I come here because they're like, hey, this is mine. Yeah, she's actually doing super well. She hadn't bloomed before we moved her, so she just bloomed in the last month, and she's very happy. I also have some coast redwoods here, which aren't native to the Pacific Northwest, but with climate change, I thought they might do very well, especially since we live on an island, and it's very maritime kind of climate. I've got 2 of those that are going to go in. So, yeah. So I'll let you guys see the berm once, or the hugelkultur, as soon as we get it finished up. Okay. Yep. So, so this is the start. This was a real easy way to get my plants growing in some dirt and out of pots. So anyhow, there you go.